God, if my mother saw me now, she'd not be very happy.
Being able to judge the conditions, judge your team, to decide whether to go on or retreat, it is really important on that climb, because the judgment at the bottom, when you decide, yeah, we're going for this, it's huge on the Eiger. Whereas with another climb, it might be that you try it and you think, oh, actually, it's not on today, I don't feel right, or we can come back down. But actually, even if you just climb half the Eiger, you know, you're then very committed.
With the bad weather coming in tomorrow, it's just not realistically going to happen.
I don't think so. Well, I think we've basically reached a point today where I've seen enough, I'm happy with the conditions aren't perfect, we've got a bad weather forecast coming in. I think it's time to retreat back down to the window down there, and then we can come back and fight the face another day. But as far as I'm concerned, from the perspective of a guide and a climber, this is wrong, this isn't going to happen.
Yeah, get your head down, mate.
Yeah, these aren't great conditions on the face.
Terrifying, mesmeric, the Eiger stands there beckoning young men to enter the lists and try their courage. Graveyard though it is, the elite of the climbing world still look and wonder whether there isn't another route, a direct route perhaps, with no diversions for the Hinterstoiser traverse, or for the ramp, or for the traverse of the gods. A new line, straight for the summit, over every overhang, up every ice heap.
By the early 60s, climbers all over Europe were looking for the next great prize on the Eiger's north face, the direttissimo, or direct route, straight up the face from the bottom to the top.
It became quite obsessive. It actually originated with a famous Italian climber who said, "Where a drop of water will fall, there I will make my route." And regardless of whether it's actually the natural way to go up.
In the summer of 1965, Chris Bonington was one of many climbers planning an attempt on the direct route. Once again, the press and public struggled to understand why these young men would risk their lives on such a dangerous mountain, especially one that had already been climbed.
Chris, you've done the ordinary route up the North Face. Why on earth are you going on it again, risking your neck?
Well, for a start, Mac, I don't like that term, risking your neck. We've taken a lot of trouble and time thinking out going on this route, and we've planned the route for a long time. We'd also be prepared always to turn back. We're certainly not taking unjustified risks. Going on from that, for why we're going on the route anyway, well, the direttissimo line's a completely separate line up the north face of the Eiger, and a very worthwhile one. And it's also new, and this is the reason why I want to go on it, because it is a new route.
25 people have already been killed on the face who didn't think they were taking any risk at all. I think the risk is unjustifiable and wouldn't set foot on it, particularly the direct route.
Also planning an attempt was John Harlin, a charismatic American based in Lausanne, Switzerland, where he ran a mountaineering school. Initially, Bonington agreed to join forces with him, but as the winter drew on, he changed his mind.
I just got increasingly worried about the whole thing. John Harlan was an incredibly powerful personality, and I was just worried by him.
Instead, Bonington agreed to photograph the climb for the Daily Telegraph, working out on the face as the teams climbed.
The Harlin Direct was this big media hyped up circus thing. Climbers are always split when media gets involved in mountaineering because they like it to be something a little bit private, which is why it's not very well understood generally, because climbers don't open up about it. And some people really were very anti that, it being filmed, it, you know, having newspaper reporters and all this sort of razzmatazz.
By February 1966, the pressure was on. A strong German team was also planning an attempt on the direct route. Harlin had invited brilliant young British climber Dougal Haston to replace Bonington. The world's press gathered in Kleine Scheidegg to watch the show. The Germans set off first, an 8-man team using siege tactics pioneered in the Himalayas, fixed ropes, ladders, high camps stocked with supplies. Dedicated climbing teams supplied from below would mean that they could push on through bad weather. They would continue till they reached the top. The Eiger Direct would be climbed. John Harlin, Dougal Haston and American rock specialist Leighton Core set off alongside.
It turned into a race. It wasn't a race of climbers devising, but it developed into a race with a German team of very fine German climbers climbing parallel to a British-American team.
They had chosen the worst winter for decades. They inched up the face in appalling conditions. After 18 days, they had reached Death Bivouac, the place at which Sedlmayr and Mehringer had frozen to death 31 years before.
Back in the 60s, the idea of climbing this great wall in winter was almost outrageous. It just seemed so forbidding. And to do that kind of technical climbing with very, very cold fingers, with everything deep in powder snow, seemed almost impossible.
The weather was horrific. Storm after storm thundered in as the teams battled up the face. This footage of Dougal Haston approaching the White Spider was shot by John Harlin. It was the last footage he would ever shoot. On March 22nd, 1 month after his team first set foot on the wall, a fixed rope snapped and John Harlin fell to his death.
It was just an accident waiting for happening. We were using fixed ropes that were miles too thin, and I think it was inevitable that one of them was going to break sooner or later, and it could have happened to any of us. And tragically, it happened to John. And so he fell to his death. The others were in the White Spider, and they, I think, absolutely rightly decided that, if they abandoned the trip then and there, it'd be throwing John's life away.
Dougal Haston, the Scottish member of the team, was above the snapped rope, and he joined forces with the Germans to complete the climb in John Harlin's memory. It was a stunning line with some very, very hard climbing, taking an almost straight line directly up the centre of this immense triangle. So it was a huge achievement.
The press had a field day. The story had all the elements of the perfect Eiger tragedy.
That was like exactly, I guess, what the Eiger's about. Journalism, film, razzmatazz, people looking through telescopes, somebody died, all this sort of stuff, climbers falling out, drama.
It is wonderful, wonderful theatre. And it was very, very exciting. I mean, the whole thing actually was exciting, because the climbers were doing what they really wanted to do. And I think one of the aspects in which I think my generation of climbers has been fortunate is that the kind of climbs that we wanted to do for their own sake, be it the North Wall of the Eiger by the ordinary route or the Eiger Direct, they were real, genuine, mainstream climbing challenges which the media could get their heads around and could follow. Whereas today, I don't think the media can any longer get their heads around hard climbing.
In the 1930s, the Eiger was considered unclimbable, the preserve of imbeciles and the mentally deranged. In 2009, Swiss phenomenon Uli Steck completed an ascent of the North Face in just 2 hours and 47 minutes.
For me, it was completely different. You go there and it's like you go running. You take the first train, you have a coffee, then 9 o'clock in the morning you start climbing, and you know exactly for lunchtime you will be latest on summit. It changes completely in your head, so you just 3 hours exposed in the face. It's not the same mountaineering, like serious mountaineering anymore. And I spent like 1 year training especially for this speed ascent. It's like training like a marathon.
The Eiger's role as grand stage for the most brilliant climbers of a generation remains undiminished. But while headline-grabbing speed ascents provide useful column inches for professional climbers and their sponsors, this is not a publicity stunt.
This whole ascent changed my mind for other mountains. I think there is a lot possible in a different way on climbing. I can go maybe to Himalaya with a completely different mind, and this will change climbing. I'm not a better climber than Heckmeyer was in his time. It's just another time. So this is what's changing. But the mountain's still the same.
The Eiger is the great-grandfather of alpine north faces. Once considered an invincible, evil ogre, it has now been climbed up every conceivable route. It's a playground for the world's extreme elite.
Standing on the Eiger, 3,186 meters above ground.
People have run up it, jumped off it, and skied down its great face. But despite all this, the Eiger's north face still commands the respect of the world's best alpinists.
I've often wondered whether with the Eiger it's a purely human construct, whether it really is just this story we've created around it, and the very public position, all the kitsch down at Kleine Scheidegg, the people with the telescopes, the terrible stories of the accidents and the grim tragedies. I wonder whether that's all it is, or whether the wall itself is intrinsically interesting. And actually, when you go there, it is the biggest wall in the Alps. It is colossal, it's unique.
A lot of people, they will never climb the Eiger, not because they couldn't do the moves on it, you know, if they had the safety of a rope all the way above them, but really because it's so committing, that the risks and the test of your self-belief.
You would quite like it if it probably fell down. So you didn't have to do it, but you aren't really complete. You have to have climbed it, or at least had some big epic on it.
Advances in weather forecasting and rescue techniques have made the Eiger a much safer place than it was 50 years ago. And while other great mountains have been diminished through commercialism, the Eiger still retains something special. It has been the stage on which some of the most iconic stories in mountain history have been played out to an eager audience. And for that reason alone, it remains unique.
We personally think the rewards are worth the risk, yet to the non-climber it would just seem insane. We do it for those moments which are totally priceless. So, you know, why we pit ourselves against the North Face? Well, weird, really. And especially this one. And this is the biggest, baddest, nastiest one of them all.
We're cloud spotting here on BBC4 this week with Gavin Prater-Pinney at 7:30 on Tuesday. And coming up next this evening, Time Shift looks back over TV's reaction to the miscarriage of justice in Retrial by TV, the rise and fall of rough justice.